This one here that we're gonna play is like stupid new, alright? Just stupid new. We're just gonna play it because what the hell, why not, right?
Right.
You guys wanna hear a stupid ass new song, right?
Yeah.
Cool. It's a little different, but it's fun.
We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. That makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. That makes you know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like not very many days, I am kicking this off solo. Golf T is actually on a phone call right now. He will be here shortly. We do have our casual coming back this weekend. I guess it is kind of technically the weekend, this episode, for another episode of the Casual Corner segment that the fans always love and we love having. And we should have our lovely guests from last week, the brothers SlowBake, coming back this week to talk some more kicky punchies with us. But before we get into all of that fun and goodness, I do want to do just a little bit of a recap here. Thankfully, we actually have a show this week. Ironically enough, Friday morning, my broadcast computer, the one that holds all the information and does the actual broadcasting for the show, took a fucking dive. Literally worked great, finished the broadcast Thursday evening. Friday morning, it shit the bed. It was down for most of the week, just got it back up and running. So obviously did not, with that happening, get a chance to run either the update stream Saturday night with the live pick updates or any kind of a recap stream on Sunday evening. No chance for a What Did I Say show with that shit show going on, but we are here. So I do want to do a quick little bit of a rundown from this weekend. There's Trouble. How you doing, brother?
Ready. Let's talk some shit.
All right.
Talk about some really dumb shit too that went on.
So, excuse me. Speaking of dumb shit, narrowest of recaps for the Bellator card from last weekend. We told you it was going to be a shit show going in, and it absolutely was. The only two things that are even remotely relevant from that card are the only two things that we told you that you should have kept your eye out for. The co-main event, Yoel Romero did exactly what we thought Yoel Romero was going to do, just a little bit slower because A, Polizzi didn't fucking threaten him like I said he wasn't going to, and B, every time he touched Polizzi, he reacted like I said he was going to. So that was exactly like we thought that was going to be. Yoel Romero still Yoel Romero. He's just finally starting to slow down a little bit, and they're still giving him soup cans to try and hype him up. So, you know, there was that. Yoel just older and a little bit slower. The other thing, as if anyone needed to tell you if you didn't watch it, Ryan Bader sucks. I don't give a fuck if he's at 205, if he's at 265. Ryan Bader sucks. He was mediocre at best when he was in the UFC, which is why he never made it past middle of the fucking pack. And I get that he was the champ over at Bellator, but if you look at what happened as soon as Bellator started picking up even the slightest bit step up in competition for either of those divisions, he started getting fucking ragdoll. Well, luckily, he managed to fucking slide out with the skin of his teeth against a fucking 79-year-old Chuck Congo this last weekend at home, still almost fucking blew it. That being said, the only thing I will call any kind of a silver lining from that situation was the post-fight speech that Ryan Bader gave, and only for one fucking reason, because he said the name. He said the name that I've been telling you fucking people for the longest time is the man that's coming for that heavyweight strap. He fought at 205 for a long time, and we can tell clearly that that was a hard cut, but even Bader himself said the name that he thinks is next. Big Swarm, baby. Linton fucking Vassell. Even Bader wants it next. It's hard to fucking deny that Big Swarm is officially in strap season, motherfuckers. Keep your eyes peeled, because I'm telling you right now, if they make that matchup, you're going to see a big, bald, beautiful motherfucker with that belt, and his name ain't Ryan Bader. You just fucking watch. I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you, those boys down at Sanford have got LDV sharp as a fucking chef's knife, and he is ready to come through and ginsu that belt right off of Ryan's fucking waist. I'm telling you. So that is one of the few things that happened on that Bellator card that was even worth fucking talking about, in my opinion, because Bader himself even acknowledged it's time. It's undeniably time. Okay. Golf Tee is technically experiencing technical difficulties at the moment here. Okay, so that being said, we will hop over to UFC 274 for a little bit of a recap here. Overall, the main takeaway I will give for UFC 274 is that this was the most honey dick pay-per-view card we have had of the year undeniably. Everything going into UFC 274 said that this card was going to light the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona on fire and burn it to the fucking ground, and we were going to dance in the ashes and blood was going to spray. It was going to be like a glorious Hollywood movie. What we actually got was almost an entire card filled with upsets, underdogs, and what the fuck moments. What I will say, starting in early here, we mentioned it last week. There was a reason that we mentioned it. Lupi Godinez with a full camp is a dangerous woman. She came in and looked absolutely fucking spectacular. I get that she can fight every other week, but god damn it, that just goes to show we need to keep that woman on a reasonable fucking schedule. Give her a little bit of time at least between fights, and she can come out and be just as dangerous as we thought. So Lupi Godinez, while capable of doing an every week fight, doesn't fucking need to. That girl can get somewhere. She just needs recovery time. So that being said, Vergara versus Rodriguez. We talked about that last weekend. Turned out it was exactly the fucking back and forth barn burner that we thought it was going to be. Great fight for both gentlemen. This is absolutely one of those situations where I don't think anybody came away losing or looking worse for wear, despite taking an L. Both gentlemen still came out looking damn good, in my opinion here. Tracy fucking Cortez, man. I for one was extremely disappointed, and I get that it might be an unpopular opinion, but I think this is absolutely a situation where that hometown crowd definitely getting very vocal for her helped sway the judges ever so slightly. Melissa Gatto was threatening the entire time, and it just seemed like Tracy came out and she was just being sloppy and overly cocky for no reason. Like her ego was fighting more of the fight than her actual technical abilities were, and you hate to see that, but it got her the W in Phoenix. So there is that. She did come away with the W. I don't think it was anything to brag about, and I've gone back and rewatched the entire card top to bottom. I still feel the same now as I did in the moment. Yes, I can see how they gave it to Tracy, but I absolutely think that more than anything is a little bit of the sway from that hometown crowd cheering for her. Maybe the judges get a little bit of that, oh wow, everyone really seems enthralled with what she's doing, and she got a fucking decision. So there was that. That being said, speaking of those Sanford MMA boys being sharpening down there, Andre Failio, holy shit, one of the craziest comeback knockouts we've seen in a hot goddamn minute. That fucking counter left from hell, just doing fucking work for that young man. And apparently, from what he said, has already gotten himself a short notice turnaround fight for UFC 274 or 275 rather, in Singapore. Whether that's true or not, I'm sure we will find out during the course of this week, because there's a lot of paperwork to make sure that that's all in line. If you're going international, off a turnaround international fight, that's a lot of paperwork to do. So I'm sure we'll find out this week if that's actually the case or if he was just, hyping himself up. But if so, damn, we will definitely have to keep an eye on that. That being said, Matt Schnell versus Brandon Royval was insane for the how long did they say it actually lasted? 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Excuse me. So basically for 2 minutes and 14 seconds, those boys went back and fucking forth insanely. Schnell clipped Royval with a beautiful fucking shot that hurt him, and then Royval just wrapped fucking Matt Schnell. Just absolutely fucking beautifully done. Just, in my opinion, showing why Royval was the legitimate front runner in this division until his shoulder gave out in that fight against Moreno. So at this point, Royval is starting to make it to where you can't deny his status in the top section of that division any longer, no matter how hard they might want to. That being said, last minute, literally as the card was starting, we found out Cowboy Cerrone was ill, looked like food poisoning last minute, and the doctors were not going to allow him to fight. Apparently, they all went out for tacos the night before a fight for some reason at a little local spot in Phoenix, and it happens sometimes, and it looks like Cowboy and crew came down with food poisoning, and unfortunately, they had to scrap that fight last minute. We do have some updated news about that we will get to in the news and recent events segment, but last minute, hearing that fight getting thrown off just absolutely sucked. It was fucking a gut punch to everybody watching, for numerous reasons. That fight's going to be spectacular when they do run it back, which we'll talk about later. That being said, Randy Brown. This is another one of those cases of almost undeserved win, almost falling ass first into luck in this situation. Not that Randy didn't earn that win, but he came in so sloppy and so fucking haphazardly, despite how smooth moments in that fight looked for him. Just chaos wouldn't pressure him for whatever reason. And even the commentary crew made a couple points to mention that this was not the Chaos Williams that we're used to seeing by any stretch of the imagination. It's almost like he had no tenacity once the opening bell rang. Like he was almost purely defensive, and to his credit, fairly good at it, but you don't win fights on pure defense, plain and simple. As we'll talk about more in a little bit here, no matter how good your defense is, it will not win you the fight. So I get it. I understand. This is another one of those situations where I understand why they gave it to Randy Brown, but I'm not happy that A, we went to a decision, B, it was a split decision, and C, Chaos Williams had any fucking contemplation in his mind that he actually won that fight when it actually made it to the fucking judges' cards. This is one of those situations where I really don't feel like either one of those gentlemen should be bragging off that. Randy Brown should not be bragging about that win. Chaos Williams should not be trying to downplay the significance of the loss in either situation here. Both of you boys, get your ass back in the fucking gym, because that was shameful. That being said, the important point in the card, the point where if you watch nothing else of the entire presentation of UFC 274, you started paying attention. The People's Co-Main Event. Talk about no one in the world saw it coming. We got a shot that Michael Chandler landed, and then afterwards even confirmed himself. A, he doesn't train. B, he hadn't been training. C, he had no intention of fucking throwing until the moment the opportunity presented itself, and he thought, fuck it, why not, and let it go, and it fucking landed. If somehow you are not familiar by this point, we are talking about the second in recent months victim of high-speed videography, I believe would be the best way to put it. Tony Ferguson, while doing pretty fucking well for himself, left his guard open for just long enough that Michael Chandler was able to throw one of the most textbook perfect straight up the middle front kicks the UFC has ever seen landed like this. They even showed it side by side next to Vitor and Anderson front kick up the middle on one of the ESPN recap shows this week, and it's cleaner than some of the most notorious front kicks we have seen, which is what makes it so much more amazing that it landed the way that it did. But Tony Ferguson, thanks to the wonder of 4K cameras filming in, I think it's 90 frames per second now, cage side, all the way around the ring for all UFC broadcasts, the moment the foot makes impact is actually caught, and I think they're calling it the old man face that they deemed it when Cheeto got Frankie Edgar with it, and then even Cheeto himself said people need to stop sharing that fucking image because that's disrespectful to a man who didn't earn that disrespect. And the one that Michael Chandler landed on Tony Ferguson from this weekend makes Frankie's look not that fucking bad, honestly. Chandler landed perfectly with the meat of his foot just behind the toe base, right on Tony's chin, and it just shut the fucking lights off and hard rebooted Tony right there in the fucking ring. To the extent that it took, I think they said it took almost 5 minutes to fully get him brought back and conscious enough to set him on the stool and then start checking and making sure he's okay to stand in the ring for the announcement of the decision, or if they need to like rush him out and put him in an ambulance right fucking now. Like it was a little scary to watch for a minute, honestly.
You know, and I think the worst part of that, it was a very competitive first round too. Like as far as the fight went, it was a really good first round. Like that had potential fight of the night written all over it.
Yeah, they were running away with it. They were on the path to run away with it.
Yeah, and you know, like I said the other week, I'm not the biggest Michael Chandler fan, but knowing that he doesn't train that, he didn't practice it or anything like that, but he took that shot when the moment presented itself, that tells me he's got a way higher fight IQ than I think a lot of us give him credit for.
Right.
Because when you can see that short window of opportunity that it is and manage to pull something off like that, you've got a pretty goddamn good fight IQ. Apparently, there's a reason why he's going to stay hovering around the top somewhere in the lightweight division. We're at up there, but that fight IQ is fucking phenomenal. And this is nothing against Tony Ferguson because he looked way better than he has in a lot of his last fights. Like something must have clicked and he got himself back on track. And unfortunately, he just ran into a fucking unstoppable fucking Michael Chandler there.
I agree. And the problem with that is not that Tony lost to Chandler, because the loss wouldn't necessarily make or break Tony. The problem for me is the way that he lost, because Tony didn't get beat. Tony got dropped, knocked unconscious in vicious form. And he's had a couple of those lately. And we say it all the time. Unfortunately, we have to keep saying it. The chin can't be trained. It doesn't recover. It never gets better. It's actually medically the opposite. Once you've been knocked out, it gets easier to trigger going forward. There is no way, no matter how many fucking jazzercise or stupid foam balls you fucking work on, unfortunately, there is no way to reverse your chin once it starts to go.
Oh, yeah, because getting knocked out and having your brain rattled, it's just like getting a heat stroke or something like that. Once you've had it, you're more apt to get it again. And unfortunately, in the fight business, that's not a good thing.
Oh.
And to be honest, I really hope he still fights again, because the way he looked in that first round still gives me a lot of fucking hope moving forward for Tony Ferguson, which
Agreed.
I had lost a lot of up until I saw the first round of that fight. And I was like, well, this is starting to look like the Tony of old, where he was hard to decipher and making good reads and good connections, because Chandler came out of there knowing he was in a fucking fight.
Oh, fuck yes, he did. Even after the shit talking that he did, you could see he fucking wore it, man. He wore it.
Look at the post-fight presser. He definitely was fucking wearing it. And good on Chandler, because as a true fucking gentleman, he after it was all said and done, put out his little thing, thanked Tony Ferguson and all of that, and he did it in a fucking just a brilliant sportsmanship And it was absolutely wonderful to see. Not to mention, as much as I hate to say it, I'm really starting to like his post-fight fucking goddamn interviews because they're kind of WWE-esque, but he makes a point to make his call-outs, and he knows what he wants before he gets in there, obviously. But the way he does it, he's selling that shit, and he's selling it good. And I don't necessarily like the man, but he's selling it well. And I think that's why I like the post-fight fucking interviews that he's getting right away, because he's all hyped up and his adrenaline's there. It's like going backstage at the WWE in the fucking 80s. It's fucking fantastic.
I will give him that. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it, but I will say this. He, more than the vast majority of fighters we see, is able to harness that post-fight adrenaline and channel it into a comprehensible and well-rehearsed, you can tell, post-fight planned speech. Whereas you see guys come in there and they literally grab the microphone and they don't know what they're talking about and they can't hold still and everything is fucking crazy and their eyes are giant and they're looking in the fucking crowd. I definitely... Sorry for headphone users. I definitely will give Chandler credit. He can focus that fucking holy shit dump of adrenaline and cut a fucking promo right on the microphone like very few others can.
He really does. And that's one thing. If not his fight, the amount of respect I now have for his fight IQ, that his post-fight press conference, they're just getting better with time. And that in the fight world is fucking huge.
It carries a lot. It really does.
Because you see a lot of those guys come in there and just make totally fucked up comments and stupid shit they shouldn't be saying in the moment.
Yeah.
And you got a guy in Chandler who comes out there. He's obviously thought about what he wanted to say. It might not be necessarily in that order, but he's got it all there.
Right.
And he channels all of that fucking aggression and everything else he's got. Dude, it's fucking right. It's right spot on. To be honest, I think the UFC needs more of that, not necessarily to the extent of the WWE fucking yelling, but a little more of that, channel that energy into knowing what you're going to say. Don't come out with some random crazy bullshit. Or
I agree. I think my biggest problem, I think the reason that it bugs me so fucking much, because I am not, was not, and will not be a Michael Chandler fan. I've been laughing at that fucking clown since he was getting his ass beat by tomato cans in Bellator, and I will continue to do so every opportunity I get, and I make no bones about that. But the thing that bothers me the most about it is that his post-fight bullshit makes perfect fucking sense. Because as much as I don't like that motherfucker, and I'm not shy about it, him versus Conor McGregor at 170 pounds legitimately makes fucking sense. Conor is well over 190 right now, so he's cutting to whatever the fuck he fights at next. Chandler is clearly gigantic and dies to make 155, but does it because he's a company man. I think both of them blown up a little bit with the egos the two of them have would make for a legitimately entertaining 170-pound fight. The problem is that Chandler has a short-sighted issue because while, yes, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor at 170 legitimately makes a ton of fucking sense. The biggest problem is that he doesn't think far enough ahead. Yes, that fight might be great, but Conor McGregor cannot be medically cleared by his doctor to start training again, thanks to the couple $1,000 titanium fucking rod that the UFC paid to have put in his fucking leg. So they won't even medically clear him to start training again. I think they said, and it's either August or September till he gets cleared to start training again. Because that's a very expensive piece of titanium the UFC just paid to have put in his fucking leg. They would like to make sure he's not going to break it the day that they let him out. So he's going to have to sit for a minute, which means if you can't even start technically training until September, you won't legitimately be ready for a fight until at the earliest mid-December, late November. Is Chandler really going to sit the entire rest of the year on the sideline on a maybe? Or is he going to go ahead and book another fight and then try and reel this fucking card back in towards the end of the year once that fight is actually legitimately possible in early 23? But then you risk losing the entire landscape that you made that fucking speech in.
It's a double-edged sword where he makes it, because on one hand, if you're thinking monetarily, that's fucking huge.
Sit your ass on the shelf and wait for that red panty night.
To be honest, you're Michael Chandler, you got a new baby. Go deal with being a second-time dad.
Do some
Deal with that part
of
it, and then worry about that fucking payday of paying for that new kid, because being as he's adopted, there's a lot of fucking expense that goes into adopting children for people that don't know that. That's a fucking hefty price tag. So
it's a process, yeah.
And on that other side of it, though, if they offer him another fight, he'd be dumb not to take it in the meantime. Because to be honest, with that win, the way that it was so definitive, he could legitimately sling himself back into title talks again.
Yeah, you want to capitalize on that shit, man. You can't let all that momentum go to waste on a hope of a fucking late fucking, winter, early spring at best Conor McGregor fight.
Yep. And to be honest, he's the only one we've seen give Charles Oliveira any fucking problem.
For the most part, yeah.
I hate to say that.
The cleanest, yeah.
Yeah. But he's the only one who's given him any problem at all. Gaethje obviously didn't, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But coming in, that'll bring us to the co-main event. Now this is where some of the emphasis gets put on the no one could have possibly fucking predicted this outcome section of the card. The best way to describe this match is a lack of a fight. Legitimately, there was less action in 5 rounds between Rose and Carla's rematch than we've seen in real recent memory. Like, even in the moment, DC was saying that this was worse than Ngannou versus Lewis. Like, I believe they said statistically this actually was less strikes thrown than Ngannou versus Lewis. This was point blank period, 2 ladies scared of each other, and they both laid an egg and left it to the judges.
That was the wildest shit ever, because their fight for the Ultimate Fighter finale was pretty goddamn good.
Well, even the moments Saturday where there was action, the few, when Carla put her fucking, and to be fair, I fucking called it, shitty left jab, blatant fucking single leg takedown attempts galore. But when she put them out and she grabbed Rose and put Rose on her fucking back, which, hey, that's her fucking game. So she got that off. But to her credit, the second Rose's back hit that mat, she popped right the fuck back up every time. Carla was never able to hold her down for more than literally a second or two. So Rose clearly had no reason to be as worried about the takedown as she obviously was. You could tell this was a situation where Rose was so in her head, you could see the moment just being relived of getting taken down and submitted by Carla the first time. She wouldn't engage and give Carla an opportunity to do it. And vice versa. Carla, you could see, had been watching enough tape and saw that fucking Wiley head kick and that Joanna ass whipping that she fucking caught, that Carla was clearly not trying to engage anywhere in the fucking hands every time she shot. Like I said, shitty fucking left jab, miles away single leg fucking takedown from across the cage. So they were both in each other's heads enough that they mentally lost the fight for each other and left it to the judges.
I think the craziest part about that is how shitty that was. I don't know how the judges managed to score it for Carla. And it's bad of a coin toss as that is. Generally, when they're at a coin toss like that, you generally got to have a little more than a coin toss to fucking change the belt. But I guess
right. Well, this is go ahead.
That, and the only thing that I think I'm more upset about that is that diminishes the fact that Rose was the only one to ever recapture the belt.
I agree.
Because that's no longer the case anymore.
No. Now they've literally both done it. And I think the thing that makes it worse is that this fight was built up by both sides as an evolution, a chance to show how much they've grown since they fought each other 8 years ago.
They both took 10 fucking years backwards in that fight.
Yeah, they both did worse. But the thing that really fucks it up is that I can actually see why the judges gave it to Carla here. And this is kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. I don't give a shit how good your defense is, how much you stop a takedown or how much you shut down someone's boxing. It doesn't matter how good your defense is if you don't put any offense out. If all you do is stop what they're doing, it won't win the fight, because Carla couldn't land a fucking punch on Rose to save her ass. But what Carla did land was, I believe, 6 out of 17 takedown attempts versus Rose's 1 for 3. So if it comes down to what they have to legitimately score a fight with, there's 6 fucking takedowns in the column A versus 1 in column B. There ain't strikes for shit to talk about. So if you got to put them on the fucking scale and weigh them next to each other, 6 is coming out heavier than 1. It's not good. It's not anything to be proud of, but I see how Carla won it, and it sucks, but it makes sense.
Yeah. To be honest, I want them to run it back, but at the same time, I don't.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that. But the problem with them not running that back is what a lot of us were suspicious of last week. It came into play. You want to talk about a shark that smelled blood in the fucking waters. Within minutes of that fight being over, Joanna Jacek was punching Twitter through her fucking phone. She couldn't type fast enough to get the fucking messages out, because there is zero doubt in anyone's mind at this point. She is on a fucking Elon Musk branded rocket ship going straight back for that fucking belt, because anyone in the top, with the exception of Rose Namajunas, will get the fucking brakes beat off of them, even by what's left of Joanna Jacek. And at this point, based on that performance we just saw alone, Rose A is going to take time off and get in her fucking head for a while, and B is going to be in no hurry to get back in the cage, least of all against Joanna for a 3rd fucking fight. That clears out the only obstacle JJ has to worry about between her and that belt. There goes the last 3 years of work in that fucking division.
That's it. And that just means what'll happen is we're going to get a 3rd woman to regain the title.
Yep. Right in a fucking row.
To be honest, there's no way that she can stop fucking Joanna from beating her ass.
God, no. There's no fucking hope.
Yeah. The only one who had that hope was Rose, and right now that Rose is not there. To be honest,
Rose
this
is
is
available now.
This is kind of that same spot where after fucking getting slammed on her fucking neck by this is that same kind of mindset she's going to end up going into. So I have a feeling we're going to see a long fucking layoff from Rose, like probably a year.
I would agree, but I'm actually worried it's going to be a little worse than that. Reason being, this wasn't Rose going out there and getting caught off guard and getting slammed. This was Rose out there, and the entire time, Pat Barry and Trevor Whitman were on the sidelines yelling, "You're doing it right, Rose. If she's not engaging, that's what you want. You're doing everything right." They legitimately told her through this whole fight, not engaging was the right plan. They confirmed that her not fighting was what they wanted her to do. So now she thinks she did what she was supposed to and still lost.
Yeah, so there's going to have to be some sort of reconciliation between them. Going, all right, look, you motherfuckers told me the wrong thing. Also, I wasn't doing the right thing, so I have to be in my own head because, look, when you're in a fight, no matter what your coaches are doing, you know what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Your coaches are there to guide you, but you know you have to be hitting somebody. You have to be going for a takedown, throwing a kick, something. You can't just stand there with your fucking arms just floating by your sides expecting to win. It doesn't work that way. And like I said, you can have good defense all day, but that doesn't make up for the fact if you don't have any offense. You have no fucking offense, you can't score points. That's just how that shit works. We can't all be Cheeto and have a great defense and fucking offense at the same time. But you can have a little bit of defense and then a little bit of offense. You know, not both are going to be great. We're not all fucking Marlon Veras. That's not how that works.
Right. No, but that being said, that'll bring us to the most controversial title fight or non-title fight I think we've seen in recent years. So for those of you who missed it, quick little recap in the recap here. During the weigh-ins, 3 people missed weight, all 3 being the Brazilians. All 3 of them missed by half of a pound. The difference being Carnelosi, I believe that's how she said her name, Carnelosi, was already on weight. So her half put her within the 1 pound weight allotment for that weight. Wasn't a big issue. Norma Dumont actually was over by a half a pound, weighed 146.5. She was already at her 1 pound limit. The half pound put her over her limit. The third person who missed weight for Saturday's card was Charles Oliveira. And he didn't miss weight once. He missed weight 3 times. For one, he waited until there was literally less than 5 minutes in the initial weigh-in window to show up and actually do his weigh-in. When he did so, he weighed in at 156. They bring the box back, 155.5. So he leaves, he comes back, 155.5. That's the second attempt. That's his official weigh-in. He now officially has 1 hour to cut that half a pound. He leaves. We don't know where he goes. We don't know what he does. He comes back. He steps on the scale again with the box, naked, hands in the air. No Daniel Cormier moment. 155.5. Charles Oliveira has officially missed weight going into the title defense, meaning that he officially is stripped of the belt as of the opening bell of that fight and is no longer eligible to re-win the belt Saturday night. Justin Gaethje, however, the literal second person on the fucking scale, made weight no problem, tweeted while he was waiting for Oliveira to weigh in that he had already weighed in and already was back up to 165 pounds and was rehydrating on the quick train to 170 before they got to the cage. Well, come to find out, that half a pound didn't make a bit of fucking difference when they actually got into that cage because, yes, like we talked about Michael Chandler doing previously, Justin Gaethje absolutely made a good connection on Charles Oliveira and gave him stanky leg for a split fucking second there. But as we saw in that Michael Chandler fight, if you can't finish Oliveira when you hurt him, you will likely not get another opportunity. And this was just that. Charles jumped and choked Justin the fuck out, got him so hard, Justin actually tapped, and as Charles let go, Justin went out. He had it that solid. Unfortunately, because of the aforementioned weight situation, Charles Oliveira won the fight and lost the belt at the same time for another record in the Oliveira books. This one maybe not so brag-worthy, but first again in the Oliveira column here. So this puts him in a weird situation where he is now the #1 contender with a vacant belt that he just was forced to relinquish, and no #1 challenger, because right now Makhachev, who would be the next closest contender, is locked up with Beneil Dariush because they are both on incredible win streaks. And Dana White has said, despite Khabib screaming immediately once this fight was over, Islam Makhachev is not getting out of the Beneil Dariush fight. Beneil Dariush is on a 5-fight win streak against legitimate names and has earned his way there. And Dana White, for whatever reason, thankfully, is actually acknowledging that. So Islam Makhachev, if he wants that belt as much as he says he does, will have to get through Beneil Dariush to get a chance to get it, because as of now, it's up in the air again.
I'm wondering if Dana did that just to try to bait fucking him into coming back to fight again.
Well, we'll actually get to that in a little bit. There's been a little bit of an announcement about that situation that I'm going to get to here in the news and recent events segment, but we'll jump to that here in just a little bit when we get to that. For right now, I want to wrap the recap up here with our actual legitimate fight of the night and dual performance of the night bonuses that were given away on a pay-per-view. Color me fucking shocked, but I'll take it. Fight of the night, another, I believe this might be a record as well. Fight of the night was given to one of the shortest fights of the evening. It did not even last the entirety of the first round. Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell in a 2-minute, 14-second long fight that ended in a submission. One fight of the night as well. I'm not fucking mad because it was a spectacular fucking fight, but that's crazy unto itself to fucking see.
Oh, yeah. And that submission from Royval was slick as shit.
It was so fucking nice, dude. So nice. Now, performances, plural, of the night, the two of them, went to Andre Félio for that fucking incredible come from behind fucking counter left knockout we talked about earlier. And then the kick heard round the world, Mike fucking Chandler. I feel bad for Tony there, but even Tony said that in watching it back, he agrees Chandler deserved the bonus because that was a good shot. Shows you how great of a fucking sport Tony is.
Yeah.
So it's weird when they do it like that, but I'm happy that they did a regular pair of performance bonuses and then single fight of the night as well. If they're going to give away strange situations like that, I'm happier when they do it for legitimate, worthy bonus performers in this situation. So with that being said, before we jump into our news and recent events segment here, we are going to take just another moment this week to bring back our fan favorite segment. You guys are tuned in here. You obviously are ready to get that legitimate hardcore feed that Golf T and I and our SlowBake brethren here shortly generally will give you. But in order to keep it a little bit more relatable to the average folk here, the average Joe, if you will, but we like to bring in somebody who can take things back to that I'm just flipping in to see what the fuck is going on, true casual level of emphasis and fight game experience here compared to the rest of us lunatics. So this is the point where we are going to, once again, if they are paying attention to their messenger, bring in our favorite casual of the show here, our Tapology brethren, the Avocado for Liberty, who I messaged previously, but still hasn't, I don't know, seen it or made his way in here yet, despite supposed to be paying attention here. Cassie, throw something at him.
Let's go. I shot him a message. Keep him on top of things.
Oh, kids these days, I tell you.
Although I have to give him an excuse because my fucking, if you guys didn't notice, my Zoom just fucking went kaput right in the middle of that fucking earlier. As if I shown up late fashionably, wasn't enough. My Zoom decided, you know what? Fuck it. You weren't late enough. Let's fuck this up some more. And nothing wanted to work. So we had to do a fun restart because,
Right.
Windows. Microsoft.
So while we wait for our casual to pop up here real quick, we did get literally just this afternoon the medical suspensions from UFC 274. Thanks to them being in Arizona, we got yet another fucking weird one here. Just 3 categories of suspension for Arizona's medicals. The vast majority of the card, a small selection of the card, and then just 2 individuals here. So the 2 individual section is Tony Ferguson and Cameron Van Camp. Cameron being the one that Andre Felio got a hold of, and Tony obviously being the one that Chandler got a hold of. Those 2 both received 60-day medical suspensions for being knocked out. The other small group is Danny Roberts, Clayton Rodriguez. I thought there was 3 of them. I apologize. So it's just those 2 in that category. Those 2 have received 45-day medical suspensions. And then literally everyone else on the card got 30-day medical suspensions. So it goes to show Arizona not giving a fuck about the fighters. Ugh, there we go. Okay, so, and now we've got our avocado here. So our favorite casual is back here. We have got an interesting pair of fights coming down this weekend here. So, Mr. Casual, I would like your call on our upcoming UFC co-main event first here. One, Ryan Spann versus Ion Kuta.
Yeah, and this these were hard casual choices this week because I saw potential in everybody here in these 2. I actually choose Ryan Spann on this one.
Nice. Okay, so that being said, our main event, a very highly anticipated bout here, Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic. How do you see that one playing loose?
See, casually, this is you're going to go against me, man, but I say, was it Jan? Is that the pronunciation? Yeah, I picked Jan for this one.
Nice.
Just have a feeling. That one's a feeling one. Yeah.
Fucking wild. I say that's fucking wild because those are my exact picks.
Well, and Golf T. I know this is still going to be casual, but I'm going to say what I told you. I don't see either one of these going all the way through. I don't see these going to decision. I just don't see it with these 2 fights. These are 2 of the hardest ones to choose for a casual pick. Yeah, thanks. So.
Right, and we actually did get a true casual pick. We didn't have any extra research this week. No cheating.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your casual choices here, Mr. Avocado. We appreciate your time, sir.
Love you, brothers. Bye.
So, that being said, that will bring us into our news and recent events segment here. Our SlowBake brethren should be trickling in any time now. We've got an interesting set of news this week here. Ironically enough, there was a little bit of news, and then within the last hour, there was an actual avalanche of fucking fight news that just came down. So I tried to catch as much of the new shit as I could here. So we'll start from the older shit. I try and keep it in chronological order here, and you'll tell when it goes off the fucking rails. First and foremost, the Cowboy versus Joe Lauzon fight that we talked about that got pulled off at the last minute. They did announce earlier today it is officially now rebooked for the Austin card in June 18th. They're basically giving a month for everybody to calm down, get their shit back together, and we're going to do it again here. So it is officially back on. Joe Lauzon versus Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy Oliveira. I was talking about the other Cowboy last week. Joe Lauzon versus Cowboy Cerrone is officially back on.
I think we've all made that error from time to time. No, I'm glad they rescheduled that, and I'm glad they rescheduled it to make a card around that. Because you know what? That's a fantastic headliner for a non-pay-per-view card.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Especially because it's good for both older fans, those of us who've been watching this for a while, and a lot of newer fans, because you're going to get to see some of those really crafty fucking veterans going at it. And hopefully Cowboy doesn't get food poisoning or whatever the fuck he had going on.
Right? Yeah. Why the fuck you would go out to a local taco joint the night before a fight that fucking important? I don't understand.
But he's fucking Cowboy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cowboy going to do what Cowboy going to do. Ain't nobody going to tell him shit. So I get it. That being said, though, we did get an interesting confirmation during last Saturday's card. The official main event for UFC 276 in International Fight Week will be Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannoneer, to be co-main evented by Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski 3. So they are absolutely stacking the fuck out of that international fight week card. We were waiting for them to drop some of the big announcements. Well, we're officially close enough. They're dropping the big fucking announcements. 276 should be pretty fucking stacked. Now, we'll get a little closer to that and see how it actually falls out once we get closer. But as of now, they're stacking it out. July 8th, the Bellator card in a, as of now, undisclosed location. They have not announced it yet, just the card, will officially be main evented by the rebooking of Douglas Lima versus Jason Jackson, which I am very fucking curious to see about. That is probably one of the most interesting fights in that division, Bellator, for me over there. July 16th, back over on the UFC side of things. A lot of people might not even have realized, but Herbert Burns, Gilbert Burns' younger brother, has officially been on the sidelines for over 2 years due to injuries and other craziness going on. But that has not stopped him. He has officially signed a brand new 4-fight contract with the UFC and will officially be back in the cage July 16th to welcome a newcomer in the name of Ashkabov. Interesting to see they're going to give him somebody. I'm just glad to see Herbert still back at it, despite all the crazy shit he has been having to fucking deal with in the meanwhile. Now, that being said, we got a chunk of announcements here for the mid card, if you will, for July. We've got 276 July 2nd for International Fight Week, and then we have got 277 on July 30th at the end. So we are bookending July with pay-per-view cards, and in the middle, they are starting to fill the fucking gap here. We got 4 announcements today for that UFC London card that's taking place July 23rd. The first one, Victoria Leonardo stepping back in there against Mandy Bohm, which a very, very interesting ladies prospect battle. Cool to see him slapping that on the London card. Then we got a big boy. We got the light heavyweight stepping in. Paul Craig, the Bear Jew, is back in action against Volkan Ozdemir himself. That's going to be a fucking spectacular matchup.
That ought to be a fucking barn burner, to be quite honest, for light heavyweight.
And because they're in London, it's almost obligatory. They have to put one of like 5 different fighters on the card. So they threw the fucking dart, and it turns out Molly McCann, the meatball, is going to be on that London card taking on Hannah Goldie. Hannah being one of the soupiest fucking soup cans the UFC has signed in recent years, but they're putting Molly on a London card. It's not like they're really going to give her anybody to fucking give her competition at that point anyway. They want to see her get the crowd going ape shit. So I get it.
Selling seats, man. Selling seats.
Yeah, asses and seats are going to be guaranteed when you got the meatball there, because you know all their friends are going to show, and it's going to be fucking crazy. But for me, the biggest announcement that we got this week for that UFC London card, July 23rd, we found out what's going to happen after Rothwell got the axe, right after they fucking booked him, because they had booked him against Alexander Gustafson at heavyweight, which is a fight that pretty much everyone was excited to see. Well, then they cut Ben Rothwell the week after they announced that fucking fight. So what the fuck happens to Gustafson? Well, fret not, mon ami. We have got your answer. Not only is Gus good, but Gus is getting back to what made him him. Alexander Gustafson returns to light heavyweight 205 to take on Nikita Krylov in London. That's going to be fucking insane.
And Gus has got a hell of a team around him right now, man.
Right? With the people that he's training with right now. Woo!
Just think.
I'm excited for that.
Dude, I'm excited to see what he does. I'm really hoping that he is getting pushed to his fucking end, because he's got 2 guys in there now that are really pushing each other.
Yeah,
like
the Smash Bros at his corner.
Yeah, they're literally the Bash Bros. Like, you think of the Mighty Ducks in the Bash Bros. This is the Bash Bros in fucking the MMA world. I mean, here, dude, it doesn't get much better than that. I'm just surprised that they did not book a couple other guy straight from London on the card because,
agree.
and I'm sure there's time, but
that's I feel like they're doing it in the background. There's strings being pulled and paperwork being faxed in the background as we speak. I have a funny fucking feeling, man.
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably in the next week or two, we'll find out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet next week maybe, or a little closer to the card itself, we get that late build-up announcement to help just ice that fucking cake for us. So 277, as if they hadn't fucking started feeding us the trickle on that one. Anyone who's been paying attention is going to be excited about this announcement here. We finally got the return. Luke Rockhold is officially getting back in the fucking cage, and they're giving him what he asked for. The wine weirdo himself, Paulo fucking Costa versus Rockhold at 277. Now, that is if we actually make it there. Somebody's going to have to get an AA sponsor for fucking Paulo before we get there. But if we can get there, that's going to be a real fucking interesting fight unto itself.
Dude, that's a win-win. Either way, two of the people I hate most in that division are going to beat the shit out of each other. And with any luck, we'll see our first ever double knockout in the UFC.
Hey. Fingers fucking crossed, dude. I'm here for it.
We can only wish. The stars align. Like, that might be the one time I make a stupid ass $100 prop bet on something that might pay like 10 million to one.
Yeah, give me a DraftKings fucking 150 to 1 odds. I don't give a fuck because I want it to happen. Oh, Jesus. All right, so that will bring us to the other announcement for 277 that we got. Officially, there was rumors. We talked about them a little bit. Well, they confirmed it. The rumors are no longer rumors. Pen has been put to paper. UFC 277, as of now, potentially the co-main event will be Brandon Moreno versus Kaya Kara France 2 for the interim 125-pound belt, because Biggie Smalls has a hand injury that is more significant than they thought it was going to be. He's going to be out till most likely the beginning of next year at the very earliest. You know, Dana, he loves those fucking interim belts. He caught the sniff of the injury from Figueiredo and went, slung that fucking interim out there, and we get a rematch. We get a rematch of a damn good fight that went down. And now this is one of those situations where I almost hate to even talk about it, because this is for the guys' side what Rose versus Carla was for the ladies' side in terms of rematch importance here. The first rematch was, or the first fight rather, was spectacular. The fact that the second rematch is for the interim belt now just puts that much more emphasis on it. So hopefully we don't get another bed shitting like we did last weekend. I don't think so with these two guys, but we'll see as we get a little closer again. September 23rd, the Bellator Dublin card. Scott Coker has decided he is going to pick the literal lowest hanging fucking fruit Bellator has to offer, and they have matched up James Gallagher versus Brett Johns. For fuck's sake, if they did anything less than this, it would literally be walking to the bar next to the arena and grabbing two drunks from their fucking stools. The fact that they have not only made this fight, but they are building the card around that fight shows how little they have of relevant European talent at this point in the Bellator roster. That being said, if you did not see the opening GIF that we used to start this particular episode, it was a recap of one of the lesser publicized moments from last week's UFC 274, in which a 100-pound soaking wet, tiny little blonde girl decided at some point in the mid-fight rolls that she was going to hop the barricade and try and get into the fucking octagon. To her credit, she gets over the guardrail, makes it all the way up, all the way to the octagon, and as she climbs the stairs to get into the cage, a very large bouncer turns, sees her, and gives her a unanimous nope, which sends her genuinely flying off the fucking canvas onto the fucking guard, where she's promptly grabbed by security and escorted out. But holy shit, if you have not seen that little 12-second fucking clip, it is glorious fucking laugh bait, I assure you right now.
Dude,
That being
hit
said,
the pavement so fucking hard.
fucking flew, man. It was fucking great. Oh, but the other moment that we got from there, Daniel Cormier was officially inducted into the class of 2022 UFC Fighters branch of the Hall of Fame. And on one hand, fuck DC forever. On the other hand, credit where credit is due, regardless of how you feel about somebody. I would just as soon piss on that motherfucker if he was burning alive as talk to him if I had to. But some of the accomplishments that he did achieve on his journey throughout the course of MMA as a whole, more so than what he did in the UFC, in my opinion, I do agree make him worthy of a Hall of Fame entry. On the other hand, fuck DC forever. I don't care.
I think the greatest thing that came out of that was the fact that he cried while they were making the announcement.
Yes,
Dude,
like a bitch.
He is one of the moody, for being a legitimate bad motherfucker, as much as I hate to admit it, he is one of the biggest fucking crybabies out there. He is a mood, dude. He's like a fucking teenage girl. He is a moody little bitch. Every time, there's always something to cry about. I lost, or
they caught him. They put a camera right on him as soon as he started manstrating. When they rolled that fucking footage up top and the waterworks trickled off, they had that fucking camera zoom right in on his weeping ass. It was great. So on one hand, congratulations. On the other hand, fuck you forever. I don't care. That being said, in regards to the issue we talked about earlier with Charles Oliveira missing weight, we have now had an official statement from the UFC, aside from the ridiculous bullshit that Dana kind of half-ass ignored and stumbled his way through in the post-fight press conference. UFC officiate Mark Ratner has officially announced that the practice scale, one of the 3 scales that the fighters get access to before the official weigh-in before the commissioner, had indeed been tampered with more than what they initially thought, just the switching back and forth from kilograms to pounds that the European and the Brazilian fighters had been doing. Dana White, in his glorious fucking stupidity, made light of it to such an extent that he said jokingly that they're going to hire security guards to stand next to the scales in the post-fight press conference. Well, that dumbass fucking comment by Dana was actually clarified by Ratner in saying that they now believe that someone legitimately may have tampered with the practice scale right beforehand. The issue is that, like I mentioned earlier, despite there being now potential confirmation the scale may have been tampered with, and there was a potential issue with it being changed from kilograms back to pounds and back and not being recalibrated properly, the only 3 people who missed weight were the 3 Brazilians. Everyone else that was there used that exact same fucking scale, and everyone else made weight on the button. But somehow a potentially tampered with scale only read a half pound exactly over for only the Brazilians. But Mark Ratner said it's official, so we'll see what they're going to do. The real fucky part about this is that now they've got confirmation, I say with air quotes for those of you listening, that there may potentially have been some fuckery with the scale, yet they're not giving Charles Oliveira his fucking belt back. Seems a bit strange, don't you think?
Changes things a little bit.
You know what? My thought is, you know how much you're supposed to weigh on weigh-in day. You know exactly that shit. You should be well on par or below by the time you're ready to hit that fucking scale. You should be able to do it with your fucking clothes on if you want. Your job when you sign that contract says, I must weigh this on fucking weigh-in day for the fights. Okay. Do your fucking job. Make weight. Look, there's always one. I mean, don't get me wrong. We tell people, if you're having a hard time making weight, fight at your natural weight class.
Yep.
Oliveira has never been one to miss weight. So I have to kind of give him, I take this, he hasn't made it a regular occurrence of missing weight.
Not at 55. He hasn't missed weight at 55.
But the point being, you know your fucking job. Don't use excuses of, oh, well, there's a scale issue or all the Brazilians are off. Look, I don't give a fuck who is off. It could have been a Brazilian, a fucking guy from China, one from Japan, and one from fucking the US that all missed weight on the same card. You all had a fucking job to do. I don't give a fuck what part of the world you're from. You know the rules. You know what you signed up for. Be ready in advance. This is my biggest problem with weight cutting prior to a fight or during the fight week. You have fuckery like this afoot, and then we tried to find somebody else to blame it on. Oh, the scale was off or this or that. Motherfucker, you could have been on weight.
On weight, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Fight. The week before, you could have walked in there and fucking should be able to weigh in the week before a fight and still be on fucking weight. But you know,
and all three of the opponents of said Brazilians used literally the exact same practice scale, the exact same commission scale.
Mm-hmm.
None of them had issues, including both the other title challenger who had to make championship weight and the other two contestants who both made their respective weights within the allotments.
And this is what we call the bullshit flag, and I'm fucking waving.
Yeah, for sure. So that'll bring us to today's weirdness fucking announcements that we got. The first one from today, I'm not really sure why it got as much traction as it did, but it did, so we're going to talk about it real quickly. Nate Diaz posted a picture of himself pissing in front of the UFC Performance Institute today and said that he's doing this because he's tired of them freezing him out. He'll take the fight with Chandler, send him the damn contract. Now, I will say it's a very controversial picture. It looks like he's standing in front of a trash can that he may or may not be pissing behind, cleverly posed. I think the biggest thing for me, at least, that came out of this post was the fact that within 2 minutes of it being posted, Dustin Poirier jumped immediately on and said a real man would have shit there.
That I did not hear. That's hilarious.
Not to encourage this type of behavior, but as they say, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That's definitely a 10-8 Poirier round, in my opinion.
Look, he isn't wrong. If you're that fed up with your job and you think it's shit, show him how much shit it is.
Make your statement, son. So,
or shit on Dana's desk or something, like, you know.
Right? Yeah, it's something a
Like
little more
he wants to be
representative,
released, so really do something.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Legitimately,
do it if you're going to
release
do it.
yourself in the
do
front
it,
door. You know.
Kids these days. But that being said, that's just real quick, it's out there, so we're covering it. That being said, we did get 4 very interesting fight announcements literally within the last hour before we went live here. The first one for UFC 276, literal last minute announcement added today, and I'm fucking here for it. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. If you aren't excited about that fucking fight, turn this show off right now. I don't want to waste any more of your goddamn time. I'm not fucking kidding. That being said,
that is an exciting fucking fight right there. Bobby Green,
that's probably one of the
show, and you know A10 is there for it.
Fucking pay-per-view. Warthog's bringing it, dude. Fuck.
Come straight across the screen.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking fireworks. I guarantee you. So then, in between, we were talking about the International Fight Week and that fucking 277. They're stacking the middle up here. The July 16th card, right in between this and that London card on the 23rd. Amanda Lemos versus Michelle Watterson. Get the fuck out of here if that fight doesn't interest you.
In any fight that the Karate Hotties interests me.
Right.
She's always game, and that's look.
She's been out for a minute with her shit too, so her medical shit has to have been cleared now.
Yeah, like I doubt we'll ever see her as champion. She's gonna go down as one of those fighters that you wish would have seen championship gold.
There's still plenty of fun fights though, and this is fucking one of them. So, 277 rounding out July on July 30th. Diego Fajara, who has been out for a hot fucking minute, stepping back in to take on Drakkar Klose, who was getting just back into it after sitting out for forever and a fucking half. I'm here for it. A little strange that they're putting it on 277, but you know what? We'll see. The big one, though, the biggest of the four, divisionally impact-wise, I guess would be the right way to put it here. August 6th, Vicente Lucay versus Jeff Neal. That's essentially the Khamzat stall fight. Winner of that is going to get the winner of the potential next Khamzat fight. That top of that division is so fucking insane right now. Welterweight is just on fire. Vicente Lucay is right there. Jeff Neal is just, I think, on the lower edge of the top 5. So that whole fucking division is just on fire and not cooling off any fucking time soon. So that's going to be cool as shit to see as well. That being said, when it comes to this weekend, we have got a couple of different cards. I'm not going to say a ton. There's an LFA card with not many names on it. There's a CFFC card this weekend with not a whole lot of recognizable names on it. There's plenty of punchy kicky if that's what you're looking for. But the 3 cards I'm telling you right now to keep your eye out for the biggest chance for potential craziness. The first one, I don't know why they keep doing this, but they're doing it again. Bellator 281 MvpVsStorley kicks off at 1 p.m. tomorrow.
I'm at fucking work because they're assholes.
I don't know why, if it's the Showtime contract, if it's just the Bellator thing, but they keep doing, like, I don't mind Friday fights, but stop doing them at noon, for fuck's sake.
Are they? They're not stateside for that fight.
No, they're in London.
That's why. Because that's at London, that's an evening. So I mean, it makes
that'll make it. They're going to start at 7 p.m. London time, so it's 1 p.m. here.
But still,
yeah,
pissing me off. I'm at fucking work.
I agree. Fucking. That being said, there are a couple of interesting fights on that card. Alan Carlos versus Charlie Ward. I'm almost more curious to see if Conor McGregor is going to show up than I am to see how Charlie Ward is going to perform, because Carlos isn't that big of a threat, and Charlie Ward is a fucking ice cream cone shaped monster. So it's going to be interesting to see if he just puts his fist through Carlos's fucking head. Daniel Weichel versus Robert Whiteford actually has legitimate fucking ramifications in the featherweight division going forward here. The retirement fight of Paul Daly versus the now subbed out Vendel Giancomo. I think it's the 3rd fucking replacement opponent they've ended up giving Paul Daly for his retirement fight. At this point, they're like, no, dude, just shut up and fucking fight and go away. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying it's not that great of a retirement fight. People's co-main event, the ladies bringing it out. Denise Kielholtz versus Kana Watanabe. 2 of the more talented non-title holding ladies in the Bellator side of things. Definitely going to be interesting to watch. What is potentially the last fight professionally of Lyoto the Dragon Machida in the co-main event against Leon Scott's brother, Fabian Edwards. My opinion, the more talented of the Edwards brothers, but he's also shit the bed his last couple times out as well. Now they're giving him to Machida for his potential last professional fight ever. I'm tuning in just to see the fucking outcome regardless. Now, the problem is their main event is MVP versus Logan Storley for the interim welterweight belt. Now, this is bad for a number of reasons. 1, neither one of those clowns deserve to be in there for an interim belt. 2, MVP has already gone on record as stating that he doesn't even view Yaroslav as the champion since he, and I quote, ran off to war. He considered this his belt crowning, and then Yaroslav gets to jump the front of the line to fight the champ when he's done playing soldier. Fuck you, MVP, you fucking scumbag. I absolutely hope Logan Storley face plants that fucking clown, but because that's what everyone wants to see every time that fuck stick goes out there, he's probably going to fucking win in some stupid, flashy fucking fashion, and we're going to have to hear his dumbass blab off with the fucking mouth again.
You know, generally, I don't mind loudmouth British folks. I don't. Most of them are pretty cool. He's a piece of shit, though.
The exception. Yeah.
He is the exception to the rule. Like, when I think of loudmouth, ornery, fucking Brits, I immediately go to Michael Bisping. But at least he's fucking funny.
He's entertaining. Yeah.
Just saying. That dude is the absolute dude. He's the piece of gum that's been stuck under a table for 10 years that you have to use a putty knife to get off. The dude's an absolute piece of trash, should not be anywhere near this game at all.
I agree. So the other one that I'm going to mention real quick, and the reason I'm only going to mention it, we're not going to go balls deep on this one, is because unfortunately this one fell through on one of the most devastating ways that a fight ever fucking could. BKFC Omaha goes down tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern. The reason I say unfortunately is that this card originally was going to be headlined by the return of Beck Rawlings to BKFC against Britton Hart, a rematch, I believe 4.5 years in the making. Unfortunately, there was a very serious personal medical issue that, unlike BKFC, I won't disclose the medical information of from Britton Hart in this past week. Just know that our fucking sincerest thoughts and fucking feelings from the show here absolutely go out to Britton Hart and Joey Beltran, who hadn't made their fucking announcement public until BKFC made it for them in a tragic medical situation like this. So our thoughts are absolutely with the Hart Beltran household and their fucking devastating times right now. That being said, they are going to keep that BKFC card going. They've changed the main event last minute, and I cannot say it was for the better. Now, the two biggest fights on that BKFC card have become the now co-main event in the 173-year-old Houston Alexander taking on the We've Got a Porn Star at Home from Wish.com, Jason Fish, in probably the least exciting co-main event BKFC has ever possibly fucking put together. And now, because it was put together at the literal fucking last minute, the main event itself has become Dakota Cochran versus Josh Dyer. Josh Dyer, you might, but probably won't remember because we've only ever seen him once before in the BKFC where they literally had him fighting a fucking pizza delivery guy who he, surprise, beat the shit out of. And then Dakota Cochran, who the last time we saw him out was getting his forehead pummeled the fuck in by Mike the Marine Richmond, who is now getting ready to fight for the belt. So coming off of a loss, they give Dakota Cochran a fucking last minute main event. Don't waste your fucking money. If you can catch an illegal stream, I would say that you definitely shouldn't watch that. That being said, the reason we are actually here, the thing that is worth talking about, surprisingly enough, one of the, in my opinion at least, best post pay-per-view hangover cards the UFC has thrown us in a hot fucking minute now. UFC Vegas 54, Blachowicz versus Rakic. So before we even get into it, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. I am excited for this main event and I am also protesting this fucking main event at the same time. On one hand, if the Polish power can stop Rakic in his tracks, there is no fucking denying that Jan gets to be the next fucking guy fighting to get his fucking belt back, regardless of if it's Glover or if it's against Yuri. I don't give a shit. If Jan wins in devastating fashion this weekend, he's next to get a shot at the goddamn belt. On the other hand, Rakic shouldn't fucking be here. Rakic had already agreed to rematch Anthony Smith, who had fought 3 wins in a row since their fucking fight, while Rakic sat on the fucking sidelines doing nothing. And then for whatever goddamn reason, because Dana's got a hard on for fucking Rakic, he just can't slap down for some fucking reason. He immediately gave him the fucking Blachowicz fight because if he wins, I guarantee you Rakic is getting the next fucking title fight. But we'll get to that in a minute. But before I could even start thinking about this goddamn card, I had to get that out of the way. That being said,
Cock off your chest, man. Get the cock off your chest.
I had to. That just. So that being said, we legitimately have a pretty decent fucking prelim card coming up for this weekend here. Not that every fight on the card is a fucking banger, but every fight on this prelim is legitimate and valuable for the division that they're taking place in. Maybe not as much as some of the others, but legitimately, starting with the opening fight of the whole goddamn card, Nick the White Diaz Maximov versus Andre the Wrestlefucker Petrosky. They have got a literal White Diaz and then the Wrestlefucker that they just can't get to catch any fucking traction from the latest failure of the Ultimate Fighter. I get it. I get it. Let them try and wrestle fuck each other, that 209 wrestling style, that fucking super aggro communist wrestling style. Let them get it, dude. I'm okay with it.
It's going to be a good grappling match.
That, or because they're both goofy fucking wrestlers, it's going to be a really shitty stand-up match that'll be equally as laughable and entertaining, in my opinion.
Yeah. Fucking middleweight walrus slap fight.
Yeah, exactly.
And being as it's another fucking White Diaz, we're definitely getting somebody's getting slapped.
Right? My interest is piqued in that fight more than I thought it was going to be.
I feel like it's a good way to start the prelim stuff. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
I agree. Now, I can't say that I'm excited for the next fight, but I'm morbidly curious, I think would be the best way to put it. Angela Hill on a legitimate full fight camp versus Verna Yonderoba. We have seen Yonderoba be just as inconsistent, hot and cold as we've seen Angela Hill. The difference is that Angela Hill has a reason because she's fighting every other fucking weekend. So I can understand why Angela Hill has been as inconsistent as she has been. Yonderoba hasn't really had any justification for that, but in my opinion, it showed the same level of hot, coldness. They've both had a full camp leading up into this fight. I'm genuinely curious to see what version of both of them we will see coming out Saturday.
I'll say this. I don't like Angela Hill. I just don't. There's something about her that I just there's something I don't know what it is, but I just don't fucking like her. And to be quite honest, I appreciate the fact that she is a fucking company man or company woman, as it were. Fucking look, to keep fight cards going, take fights on short notice. I love that kind of thing about fighters. There's something about that fucking lady that just pisses me off. I don't know what it is. On the other,
it's her voice. It starts with her voice. I can't fucking say it like it sounds like a squeaky fucking mouse.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as shallow as it's gonna make me sound, I don't give a shit. My problem with Angela Hill shows up as soon as she opens her fucking mouth. She's an absolute fucking smoke show of a lady. She's a talented fucking fighter, but the second she opens her fucking mouth, she's got that forced fake baby doll voice, and she is the most staunch Angela Hill fucking cheerleader you've ever met, which I understand. You got to root for yourself, but there comes a point where it reaches the line of delusion.
yeah, and on the other side of this, Yonderoba, fuck. She's had some really flashes of greatness, but I've realized she has a terrible fucking ground game. Anytime they put her against somebody who's got a decent ground game, she flounders fucking miserably. And in this case, I think that's where Hill ends up winning this fight, is because Hill does have a pretty good fucking solid wrestling and ground game. And Yonderoba just can't seem to fucking get past that. As much as I hate to see it, we see Angela Hill climb the ladder here again.
Very well could be. This absolutely could be one of those situations where Angela Hill just has to show up in wet blanket for 3 rounds. Maybe. That being said, though, I never thought these words would come out of my mouth. I'm excited to see Viviane Araújo versus Andrea Lee as the premier prelim event. That's probably the most fitting fight of those prelims they could have put in that premier spot. I think it deserves it to be there. It hurts my brain a little to say that, but I'm willing to say it.
I'm in agreement with you, especially because I don't think I would have never thought to put these two together.
Yeah.
However, it will make for an exciting I think it's going to be a pretty exciting fight because, to be honest, as much as I hate to say this, you rarely see Andrea Lee have a boring fight. Viviane Araújo is the same. Now, with that being said, we've seen people that generally don't have boring fights, and you put them together, and it ends up boring. But I don't think that's going to be the case because there's a lot on the line for both of these girls. They're both ranked in the top fucking 10 over there right now. So there's a lot of momentum to be gained if they win. And I think Araújo is coming off a fucking loss. And what was it? Andrea Lee's on like a 3 or 4 fight win streak.
I think Lee's on a 3-fight win streak right now, I believe.
Yeah, so there's a lot of momentum to be gained there or stopped dead in its tracks on that. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of implications in that flyweight division to see who gets that shot at number 3, 4 ranked fucking person there to try to increase their stock again.
Yeah, man. It's got a lot of potential. I did not think I would say those words anytime soon, but it's got a lot of potential. It really fucking does. So I'm curious to see how it plays out.
I think it's weird to say that because Andrea Lee's in there and it's got a lot of potential.
Yes,
that's nothing against her. She always shows up, but there's something about her. She's another one of those fighters where I'm like, I just can't get behind her. Like I'm not rooting against her. I don't fucking hate her, but I just can't get behind her.
Andrea Lee is one of those fighters that kind of makes it a staple rule on this show. Credit where credit is due, regardless of how you feel. Because I'm right there with you. I have nothing against Andrea Lee, and I'm willing to admit that she is noticeably improving. She is actively listening to her coaches more. You can see her fight IQ starting to develop more, but I could give 2 shits less. I don't fucking like her. There's just something about her. It fucking irks me. I don't know.
I can't even say that I don't like her. It's just I can't get behind her.
I can't root for her. I think that's the best way. I can't root for her. It's not that I don't like her.
Yeah, and you know what? It might be her fucking training partner. Because he's a fucking shitbag. What is it, Tony Kelly?
Yeah,
I can't stand that
scumbag. Scumbags for damn sure.
Like that dude, if he got hit by a truck and started on fire, I wouldn't piss on him to put him out.
No, that whole crew that she trains with is definitely, if not the reason, it's absolutely part of the reason why I can't fucking root for her for damn sure.
To be honest,
some wasted human beings. For sure.
That's the only reason I can really come up with.
I can see.
And the other fact is, I think she sleeps with him too, which makes it even worse.
Right? Yeah, she's in the whole. There's a whole weird situation in that camp, and it's,
like if they
don't
weren't
have time
MMA
to get into
fighters,
that fucking rabbit hole.
If they weren't MMA fighters, they'd probably be cooking meth somewhere.
They might still be. They're that kind. So That being said, that'll bring us over into the main card. Now, this is kind of where I feel that they actually trip over their dick a little bit in the fashion that we're kind of a little more used to. Generally, like we say all the time, the pre-pay-per-view and the post-pay-per-view cards for the UFC are generally literally just filled with fights that have to get made for contractual obligations' sake so that people can get the fights they've been offered in. It's generally very little to actually get excited about. There's a little bit of that rather on this card, and for whatever fucking reason, they put it on the beginning of the main card section here. There's very, very little to get excited about in either the Jake Hadley versus Alan Nascimento or the Frank Camacho versus Manuel Torres fight. Both of them, to be fair, have just as much chance as any other fight to go off and be absolutely fucking crazy and turn into fucking stupid barn burners that nobody saw coming. But this is one of those situations where you would have been, in my opinion, much better off taking that Viviane Araujo versus Andrea Lee fight and opening the card with it instead of putting it in that fucking premier prelim spot. Or take that fucking what the fuck is his name? Alan Patrick versus Michael Johnson. Put them on the main card. At least Michael Johnson's been in recognizable fucking fights. Some people will know his goddamn name. You're taking literal up-and-comers, brand new fucking guys, and people who aren't recognizable to even fairly regular watchers of fucking sport, and you're going to let them open the first 2 fights on the main card?
Yeah, I'm not excited about the Camacho and Torres fight, but I mean, I'm a little excited about Hadley Nascimento only for Hadley's sake. Like,
right.
Just because he seems like he's undefeated still. You know, his ground
He's
game.
a bit of a wild card for sure, yeah.
You know, so I mean, as an up and comer, let's see what he's got. Right. But that's it. I like seeing those guys come up, you know, and things like that. But I'm not that excited about really any fight until we get to Davy Grant and Smolka.
Right.
And it's more for Davy Grant, and I think Grant's gonna just dominate Luis Smolka. It's going to be a fun fight. You know, if Smolka can hold up, if he doesn't, you know, get taken out in the first round or two.
Right. Well, and to be fair, generally with the littler guys, the flyweights and the fucking bantamweights, they generally put on pretty fucking exciting fights because there usually isn't enough power for a knockout there, but there also isn't enough time in a 3-round fight to burn the gas tanks of those guys out either. So the little guys are the ones who generally get allergic to boring fights and break out fucking punches like crazy. So there's always that factor that it could be real fucking interesting, but like ranking wise, it doesn't mean shit. And Camacho versus Torres really has zero eyes
with it. Smolka is just he hasn't done that good in his last few outings, so it's just like what is he going to really put out there?
Yeah, for sure. No, Davy Grant isn't necessarily a household name yet, but he's also another transplant coming from across the pond. And we've seen those guys tend to have a little bit harder of a time bringing their fan base with them here just because this is America and it's always pro-America if that's an option. And, you know, Davy Grant's not a bad dude, but it's just one of those situations where I don't feel like he's really been in big enough fights to give him that spotlight he deserves quite yet. And being in the people's co-main event spot, as it were, here on this card, against a guy like Smolka, where folks will recognize Luis Smolka's name for better or worse. If he comes out and puts on a damn good show like he's absolutely capable of, and he puts Smolka away in dominant fashion, this could definitely put him in a nice bump in the right direction and get him a little more household recognition that he justifiably should have.
Yeah.
So the other one that we've got to talk about here before we get into the big meat and potatoes is the crazy fucking ladies fight that is going on here. Originally was supposed to be Amanda Ribas versus Michelle Watterson, but then Michelle Watterson had her quote unquote medical condition pop up that was going to keep her out for the foreseeable future until earlier. We literally just talked about that seems to be cleared up because she's got another fight booked for later on down the road, but Amanda Ribas is still on the card. And ironically enough, I feel almost for the benefit here, when Michelle Watterson got pulled out, they replaced her here with Caitlin Chookagian, the number 1 contender in the flyweight division right now. So Ribas could technically show up on the change of opponent and actually stumble herself into a title contention conversation with a good showing here. And not for nothing, Chookagian is a tough fucking gal. She really is. She's just very limited in her skill set, in my opinion.
She knocked out Andrade back in 2020. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. She's got tools for damn sure. She just isn't the most well-rounded, in my opinion. But then Ribas is almost the exact opposite of that. Ribas has got so many different tools and so many different fucking techniques, and she's so good everywhere. She just doesn't have the UFC experience and the fight IQ to be able to read and put that practice into use in real time, it feels like. If she can, this is going to be a big fucking problem for Caitlin Chookagian real quick, and she's going to cement herself in that title conversation undeniably. On the other hand, though, Chukagian is fucking huge physically, and Hebus is not. If she doesn't play her cards right, Chukagian is just going to have her fucking way with that cute little gal for all of 15 fucking minutes, and it's not going to be fun. I'm fucking telling you now. But the fact that it could go either way so easily for either one of them, it's part of why I love this fucking fight so much.
Yeah, I feel like out of all the ladies' fights that we've got on the card, it's going to be for sure the most exciting one.
Fuck
Just
yeah.
damn sure. Like even going back to the Angela Hill fight, I just hope they're all better than the bullshit that we saw this weekend with Rose and Carlo. Just, let's have every ladies fight this year. That's now the new bar, right? That's the benchmark. That's the trash of the trash. We need every fight, even on the men's side. Just be better than that, for fuck's sake. God damn, some entertainment.
How crazy is it that a ladies fight has taken over as a low benchmark bar and beaten out Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou?
Yeah, and it's crazy because none of us really expected that. Like we were talking about last week, we all expected it to be an exciting fight. We expected Carla to really be there with her wrestling. Out, she was afraid to really even shoot for takedowns. She only got 11 out of the whole fight, right? And you landed 2 of them. And it rose through like 30 total strikes. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody would have anticipated last weekend going how it did, but yeah, no, it's become the new low benchmark for sure. And I'm fairly confident that this fight will absolutely be better than that one.
Oh yeah, it's going to blow it out of the water, in my opinion, even if it's a little less exciting than we think, you know. Like if Reba doesn't show up that much, or Chukagian, like you said, it can go either way. You know, I feel like it's going to be if it's a slow fight a little bit, it's going to feel like a barn burner compared to that. I would bet some money on this one that it's going to be somewhat of an entertaining and exciting fight. So
I agree completely. So now that will bring us to our potatoes of the meat and potatoes here in this particular portion, our co-main event for this weekend. Kind of a weird one, honestly, here. Not necessarily a co-main event that anyone was really clamoring for, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense if you look at it objectively here. Ryan Superman Spann versus Ion the Hulk Kutalaba.
Yeah.
I gotta say, at least in the last little stretch here, Kutalaba has been more dangerous in his weigh-in face-offs than he has been in the octagon. Despite trying to be the biggest, scariest motherfucker out there, he has gotten his ass handed to him handily the last couple of times he has gone out there. Magomed Ankalaev has absolutely got his fucking number, undeniably, no matter how much he wants to fucking try and downplay.
Or even in his last fight against Devin Clark. Devin Clark put up a hell of a fight against he fucked up his teeth, right? They made a big deal of that. He Kutalaba fucked up Clark's teeth. That was fucking gnarly. But that dude kept going, like, with his teeth literally busted the fuck out, like, he's still coming, and he
kept going. Yep.
I can't remember. I think, did Clark win the fight or Kutalaba? I know it was a while
I think they
ago.
gave it to Kutalaba at the end, yeah.
Yeah, I know it went to decision, and I felt like Clark could have won that fight just because of how much of a badass he was. He kept coming into it. Kutalaba couldn't finish him, even if he fucked up his teeth. So, yeah, I feel like Ryan Spann, he's got a good chance to bounce back because that last fight he had against Anthony Smith, I mean, I don't think anybody felt like Spann was going to beat Anthony Smith.
No, that was more of a tune-up fight for Smith than anything.
Yeah, but I also felt like it was the test for Spann at that point in time, and he definitely didn't like show anything. He just got dominated, so he's not ready for that kind of top guys yet. So I feel like that's why they gave Kutalaba for him. It's more of a hopefully an even match kind of thing. If Kutalaba
a little more his speed,
like you said, if he's more into the fight this week than just the face off, then it's going to be an exciting fight. easily get finished in that first or second round. So,
Fuck
I mean,
yeah. And that's
I'm hoping
ironically
for a
enough,
knockout for it. Yeah.
that's one of the big things about both the main event and the co-main event. Ironically enough, both fucking light heavyweight matchups. Not nearly as significant in both matchups, but both light heavyweight matchups. But in both of these light heavyweight matchups in the co-main and the main event, all four of these gentlemen involved have the potential at any given point to shut the fucking lights out of the dude across from them. And at the same exact fucking time, all four of them have the same potential to put on a fucking snooze fest from start to finish. We've seen both outcomes from all four of these gentlemen involved here. So they're legitimately, to their credit, is as equal amount a chance that these co-main and main event are both done in less than 2 minutes and are the longest 40 minutes of your life.
I'm okay with them being long fights, just like as we said, as long as it's higher than the low bar now.
Right. So that being said, though, I absolutely feel like the main event, the actual meat of the meat and potatoes for this particular card of this weekend, Blachowicz versus Rakic, as much as I don't fucking like that they've made this bullshit fight, I also aggravatedly understand, because on one hand, if Rakic can get past Blachowicz, regardless of how he got there, he cements himself as legitimate top talent contention. On the other hand, if Blachowicz just blows Rakic's fucking doors off and legendary Polish power reigns through and this motherfucker's staring at the ceiling a minute and a half in, yeah, we knew that Blachowicz was there, and it ends up being an all for nothing fight pretty much because Rakic shouldn't have been there to begin with. That being said, Rakic is fairly talented. Now, like I mentioned earlier, he's been on the fucking sidelines for nearly 3 years polishing his fucking boots, but the rest of the division has moved on. I think this is a situation where we basically have to see, is Rakic really that good? Because Blachowicz, aside from everything else, is coming off of probably the most devastating loss he has ever had in his career. He didn't just lose, he was dominated in vicious fashion and then submitted without a real significant torque put in on the submission attempt. So that was more of a mental defeat than a physical defeat. And this comeback fight from that, as it were, is we've seen time and time again, can be more important than any other fight in Blachowicz's career. When you get stopped like that significantly in that big of a moment, how you come back in your next fight could set the tone for the rest of your whole goddamn career. And losing the belt in that fashion to be the fight to have to come back from, I have a feeling it's going to light a fire under Jan Blachowicz's ass. And Alexander Rakic better carry a fire extinguisher.
Like this week in media days and everything, he looks fantastic. He looks like he's in the best shape he's been in years.
Dude.
He doesn't look like he's got the extra weight that he's been carrying in his past few fights. I heard in a little press conference he did, he's looking at himself like Schmeagol from fucking Lord of the Rings. Like he wants the Precious back. I thought that was hilarious as shit.
That cracked me up, man.
I think he's going to dominate because, like you were saying earlier in the cast with Ratchet, I don't think he should be in there, right? You know, I feel like it should be Anthony Smith. Yep. We should be like if Jan's getting a fight before he goes back to the title, it should be Jan and Anthony Smith this weekend. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the Nate situation, right? That's why Nate's been getting pissed off. He's going and pissing on a PI today and making this big stunt because UFC's not giving him a fight. They're some of your best guys. Anthony Smith's one of your best guys. You know what I mean? Not only has he been on a winning streak lately, but he's one of those badass dudes. He's a UFC, like he's a company man, dude. He fucking calls some of the fights. I mean, what in the fuck are they thinking not giving him a fight? And who's he gonna fight now?
Oh, he's locked in now. They locked him in this last week. No, they locked him in this last week. They gave Anthony Smith Magomed Ankalaev.
Oh, okay. So there you go. Okay. So
that's my problem, though.
A good fight fucking locked up.
That's my problem, though. That's a great fight, and that fight makes sense. But at the same time, if Anthony Smith goes in and beats the brakes off of Ankalaev, he's clearly the number one contender. But if Jan Blachowicz comes in here and beats the brakes off of Rakic, he's clearly the number one contender. And we're going to get Glover versus fucking Yuri before either one of them get a chance to actually step in and be the next fight. So it's like, what are we going to do here? Like, are we forcing both of these guys to take another fight? Because the only thing that would be left is that Blachowicz wins this weekend, Magomed versus Smith. Smith wins in a couple weeks, and then we make those two fight for the next title shot. Like, how many times are we going to make these guys jump through hoops? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I get it, but
feel
at the
like
same
maybe
time,
it would depend on how the wins go, right? Like if Jan doesn't have a dominant performance, he wrestles well and just kind of controls the fight, has one of his slow fights like he's done, kind of like he did when he fought Israel.
right?
You know, just take it smart, take it easy.
Find him out.
Then Anthony goes out there and, like you said, just fucks up Ankalaev. Then maybe I want to see that, man. I want to see them give Anthony Smith the chance. If it comes down to that, yeah, fuck pinning them against each other. Fuck the Jan and Smith after the fact.
Yep.
Give it to the dude that deserves it more, because Jan's been in that position and he did get dominated by Glover. So especially if Glover keeps the belt against Jiri, you know, let's get Anthony Smith in there. Come on. I'm just you know, I'm a homer for Anthony Smith. I want to fucking see that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, man. That's part of the reason why this fight bugs me so much. But at the same time, I get it. Blachowicz is still the number one fucking contender, and legitimately, whoever goes to the title next has to go through him if it's not him that goes back for it next. So it's weird, but I understand it. I'm not happy about it, but I understand it.
I'm stoked to hear the fucking news about Anthony Smith, though. I'm happy they got a fight locked in for him.
Yeah, and I agree. The Magomed Ankalaev fight is a good fucking match as well. I think the only thing that would have made me happier is if they would have put that on the same card as Ryan Spann versus Ion Kuta, because they both got their ass kicked by the other two, and that would have been a nice little haha. But I get doing it this way as well, and I think it's still going to play out pretty well for us. But with that being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode here. Unfortunately, I did get a message. Golf, he did have to step out. He's got some issues going on right now he's going to have to take care of, so we will catch him again on the next episode. I do want to thank our favorite casual, the Avocado, for Liberty, for popping in and giving us his casual picks earlier on. Thank you to our guest here, the brothers SlowBake, for coming on. We appreciate you guys coming on again. Again, you're more than welcome to come back anytime you are available, gentlemen. The links to their social media and their podcast are down in the description as well. If you'd like to follow what we do around here every Thursday night, 9:30-ish Central Time on youtube.com/ImNoJoe. We go live. It's where we get up to the video section of this podcast. If that is too much for you, I understand. I own mirrors. Fret not. The week after we go live on YouTube, anchor.fm/ImNoJoe, the all audio format version of the show goes up a week later, so you can catch that as well. We are also available on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We are there /ImNoJoe. Links again down in the doobly-doo. We also have a Discord server where we talk some shit. We go over the news that doesn't quite make it into here, and we just have a good time. Fan questions going on over there. We've got live fans who are posting live pictures from BKFC events over there for us. All the live announcements, all that good shit is over there. If you like what we do, make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications turned on whatever platform you are consuming this. If you do not like what we do around here, first and foremost, why the fuck are you still here this deep into a podcast you didn't like? Second off, give us the thumbs down. We won't even dispute it, and fuck on off. That being said, if you do want to help out around here, the best way that you can do that, patreon.com/ImNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, it helps what we do around here, gives you access to behind the scenes, unaired, and literally unairable footage. Shit we actually can't publish without you paying to give us consent to show it to you. And it gives your name at the end of the video. It's a nice little doobly-doo thing. It helps out, and we appreciate it. That being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless it's Elon not buying Twitter, that goofy fuck.
God, it was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what